Hey everybody, it's my 40-gallon waterfall tank, and I want to shoot an impromptu spur of the moment video here, and it's going to be spur of the moment by design. I was actually thinking about something on the way home from work today, and that is the complaints I get from some people about why I don't just take a minute or two before I start shooting a video and wipe the glass down on my aquarium so that the tank looks a lot nicer for the video and so on and so forth. And to give you a perfect example of what they're talking about would be something like that. I've shot video of this talking about my loaches and stuff, and the tank looks like that because it's currently being treated. I'm not going to get in there and do work on the tank just for the sake of shooting a video while I'm currently treating the tank. It's just going to have to look like that for a little bit, and people are going to have to deal with it. But more importantly than that, I got to thinking about the nature of my videos and the style of my channel, and one of the things I always try to keep in mind whenever I'm shooting a video is I try to remember what my early days in the hobby were like. And frankly, I don't really watch a lot of other people's YouTube videos anymore, but I used to. And I always think about the impressions I got and the sort of impact that had on me when I was getting started in the hobby. And there's a lot of people out there whose fish tanks are more or less geared towards their YouTube channel rather than simply being their fish tanks in their hobby. Now, in my case, that is not how it's set up. These are just my fish tanks. This is my hobby, and I'm not trying to be a professional YouTube fish keeper hobby channel or whatever. And so, to me, I think it's important to show you that, hey, if I just grab my camera, or if you were to just pop by my house unexpectedly and come down and look at my fish room, this is what you'd see. You know, when I walk in here, this is what I see. And you can see some of my tanks are cleaner than others. All of them at this point could probably use a good wiping of the glass. If you get up close, you can kind of start to see there's plenty of growth and crud on there. Come down, we'll have a look at this tank. We got drip marks on the outside of it. We got growth on the inside of it. This tank is the same way. It's ready for some maintenance. Next time I do a water change, in a few days probably, I'll get in there and I'll wipe some of this glass down. I'll wipe all that crud off of there. But when I first started in the hobby and I'd watch these YouTube channels that I tend to think of as these sort of professional YouTube channels that aren't really there because that's somebody's hobby, but rather it's there because that's somebody's material for their YouTube channel. And you can get the impression, if you're not careful, that these people's tanks just look like that all the time. Now, they may, but if they do, it's because they spend a lot of time in their tanks, cleaning everything, scrubbing everything, and they either are suffering from obsessive compulsive disorder, which is a real thing and is not to be made light of. That is actually a very debilitating disorder if you really genuinely suffer from OCD. And, you know, that could be part of it or something, but the idea that people just have these tanks that always look amazing, and if you ever just popped into their house and saw their tank, you'd never ever see stuff like that growing on the glass, or you'd never see green stuff growing on any of the rocks, or, you know, that's just simply not reality. You either have to work very hard to establish a tank like that and then continue to maintain it. There is no such a thing as a tank that simply won't grow algae in it. I don't care how little nutrients and nitrates and stuff like that you have. If you've got light and you've got water, you've got the potential for algae to grow, and you're going to have to get in there and clean and wipe and all that kind of stuff down. And since I don't ever try to present myself as anybody who has beautiful, perfect, shiny fish tanks that never look dirty or are in ever need of maintenance because they're always perfectly maintained, I try to present myself as, these are my fish tanks and this is what my fish tanks look like. And so I very deliberately, in a lot of cases, especially this video in particular, I very deliberately do not wipe my glass down before shooting the videos, just so that people can see, hey, it's okay to have some, you know, stuff growing on your glass a little bit. It's okay not to have a immaculate, shiny, sparkly fish tank every moment of the day. There are times where, you know, it gets to looking like this, and you need to get in there and do some maintenance and wipe it down. It's not just self-maintaining. You either have to do a lot of work to keep it that way, or you have to accept the fact that sometimes your glass is going to have some stuff growing on it. You know? And believe it or not, I actually do wipe the glass down prior to shooting videos on a lot of occasions. It just depends on the tank, it depends on the video, it depends on where I'm going to be sitting. For example, if I'm sitting in front of these two tanks, you can see I've got my little stool sitting there. And if I'm going to be sitting here, I'll wipe the glass down so it looks nice behind me or whatever. But if I'm just going to grab my camera and say, hey everybody, this is a spur of the moment video, I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not going to go wipe all my tanks down and then wait for all the, water to settle down and wait for the tank to be all beautiful and shiny and then say, oh, hey, I'm just going to do this spur of the moment. That's not a spur of the moment video if I've already taken the time to get the tank looking pretty and presentable. It's a spur of the moment video if I grab my camera and you get to see my tanks that have dried up salts and stuff on the glass, and you can see I've got stuff in there floating around and there's mulm on the bottom and the filter needs to be changed. That's what my just normal everyday fish tank looks like. That's what it looked like when I came home from work, and that's what you're seeing now. I'm not going to take a bunch of time to prep the tank and then pretend that this is what my fish tanks always look like. So, just a few thoughts rolling through my head. I wanted to throw that out there. I thought about talking about it on the drive home, but I decided I'd rather talk about it while we were actually looking at some fish tanks and get an idea of what I was talking about visually. That, of course, is my new bird's nest fern. Is doing really, really well where I put it, so I'm really happy with that. I thought it was going to be too much light, but it seems to be loving it where it is, so I'm going to leave it there. All right, everybody, that was my 2 cents for today. We will be talking about this tank in the very near future. I am almost done my treatment, so when I do the treatment, I will be getting in there and doing a water change, and of course at that point I will wipe all that crud down and get this tank nice and cleaned up and shiny, and then we're going to have a nice long talk about my clown loaches, my formerly skinny clown loaches. So there you go, a little teaser for what's coming up next. Make sure you subscribe, you won't miss that or anything else. This one here is my 125 gallon tank, so thanks for watching. I'll see you real soon in the next one.